Hello, Prey. I am Danny, and this is Blood, Sweat, Philp. And today you're going to watch me build and paint the Screamer Killer and Neurotyant from the Leviathan box set. This is the assembly book for the Leviathan box set. These series of lines here are to measure the bases, so you know which base belongs to which model. As you can see, I've got two 25mm bases and a 90mm base, along with a 50mm base. This instruction manual, assembly manual, is the same as most other assembly manuals for Games Workshop, which have just picture diagrams of what models to put together and how they get to put together. And as these are new models, I'll be following the diagrams that have been supplied. So I'll be doing the Neurotyant first, as you can see there, and then after the Neurotyant, I'll be doing the Screamer Killer, and that will be the assembly. Okay, just cutting out token models, because the Neurotyant has an ability that it can put other units within 12 inches into synapse without worrying about being within a synapse creature. Synapse is the main thing for the Tyranids. Just cleaning off the pieces. They are push fit, but I still use glue because it's a decent lubricant, and it makes sure the pieces stay in. Still cleaning off the other one, making sure everything's smooth. Then we've got the back ends. Always put the flat bit of the glue cutter to the bit you're cutting. I can put that to the side. And now for the dry fit, so you can see how the models need to look. We'll still do sub-assembling, as you can see. Here are the models. Now we'll put them on their base. Comment which way's better, forwards or back. Here is the two remaining models for the Neurotyant. Okay, I'm going to start with the base. I use Tamiya's Flat Earth XF52 and I thin it down. Little water. I usually need to put 2 layers on them. So as the first layer dries, I'll be doing all the models. Then in between types of paints for the models, I'll go back to the bases for however many coats I need. This is a lot easier and quicker without the model on it, but I get a bit too impatient wanting to build the models and put them on the bases and play with them. But this time I'm happy, I'm wanting to make these models look good and more or less be the focal point of my army. There we go. Didn't thin it down enough. Now that I have, reading so much easier. And the limb of the base, need to get more paint. Just using the flat of the brush to get all the edges doing the exact same thing. It wouldn't take me as long because it's much smaller.
So which models are these bases for?
The one I just did is for the Screamer Killer.
That's the big one, right?
Yeah, this one's for the Neurotyant. That's the Blaney one.
And are all the bases going to be that colour?
Yes.
And so this colour is just like a base coat, like an under...
Yes.
Do you do it different for different sets that you do?
Probably not.
Okay, this is your go-to.
Yeah, and also it unifies all my models. I enjoy the assembling more, but painting for me is therapeutic. Drying the brush and getting all the flat earth out of it. There we go. I found these lovely dry brushes and I am going to be using them and don't really know how to use them, but I've seen Artist Opus using them, so I'm just doing what they do as cheaply as I can and don't have enough to get the light stuff. For coverage, I'm using the large dry brush. Usually it's good to go bigger because it covers a lot more.
So we're doing the model now?
Yep, starting off with the Screamer Killer, big guy. I am using Leviathan purple contrast paint for the carapace. That will do. Much better than my other models have been converted.
And what do you mean you've been converted?
I am using these dry brushes and they are putting on contrast paint much better than the regular paint brushes I've used.
It's beautiful. That purple is gorgeous.
Yeah, all my other paint brushes that I've used this paint on for my models, they are all very dark, almost black, which is not what I'm going for. But with these brushes, it's putting the paint on more evenly and loosely, so I'm not having that issue. I would go to the dampening thing, but it doesn't quite work the way I was expecting. Maybe it needs to be a lot more wet, doing a rolling method to get into the nooks and crannies. I'm not too worried about overspill. I can correct that with white paint.
That's his cloth.
Using a dabbing technique. In time, I'm sure I'll learn how to use these dry brushes properly. Should always go to the dampening cloth or container or whatever you're using instead of going back to the pigment. That way, it uses all the paint off the brush and you're not adding any more on unnecessarily. Shortens the cleanup time and looks after the brush. That's what I think anyways. Use these brushes on all my models. They're just doing such a good job. And the neat thing about dry brushing, it dries very quickly. The top I started with is already dry.
Is that actually paint that you're using or is it pigment?
Contrast paint that's specifically made to help with contrast. It's sort of...
But is it a paint?
I think so.
Okay.
Sort of a paint, sort of not.
But it's still called dry brushing?
Yeah. I think as far as I know, because I'm using a dry brush. And dry brushes seem to pick up the paints harder.
But you are kind of, because you're dampening it on the cloth, it's not really completely dry anyway.
No, but there is a lot less paint on the brush than if I was using a run-of-the-mill normal brush. And since there's less paint, it dries quicker. And most of what I'm doing, I've learned from Artist Opus. Great guy for paint tutorials. He is a dry brusher, but most of what he sees can be applied to most types of painting. Put a bit more on the feet to have them darker, to help with the contrasting. Use any type of paint for dry brushing, even airbrushing paint. I think that is dark enough paint on my brush. I'm wanting the tones to be much darker than the carapace, so it's easier to distinguish between the two. Sort of using this as normal brush / dry brush, because usually you would need to just dab, but I'm just brushing it on, doing a mixture of both. The other talent, have right there. We are living on a prayer. We'll make a day swear. Testing it on my hand to see how much of the paint's coming off. And in the hard to reach places, I'm just rolling and licking. Let that dry. And let that dry, and I might need to come back to it. Now onto the head. It's only gone one wee bit of the carapace. Head's done. I will. But the mouth's done. Now for the head. The sub-assembly is definitely easier to paint, but I just want my models to be built and I can look at them and be like a proud parent. Now onto the Neurotyant. This whole piece is carapace. Just gone over this again because it's dried and it just looked too bright for what I'm wanting. So I'm putting on another layer coat, dry and bring it down. If I wanted to, I could have used a wash or a lighter highlight to trick the eyes into thinking it's darker. But I know this contrast paint is dark, so another layer would get the dark I'm wanting, deep purple. I'm not wanting to make the rest of the carapace too dark. I'm wanting the distinction between the legs and the feet, and in that short amount of time, this piece is dry. It's to cover the places you think people are going to see, even if you don't think they would see it. Best to cover them unless the piece points into the model, then that's just pointless because literally no one would be able to see it. And I'm covering the back and bottom of this piece because people will see it and then pick up the model and look around. Even the bits that connect to the model, best to cover them. Now for another layer. Remember when painting anything, 2 thin coats, even in the dead of winter, 2 thin coats is all you need.
What if it needs a third coat?
Then it needs a third coat, but 2 thin coats are generally best, and don't get upset with me if you end up getting hypothermia.
Getting what, sir?
Hypothermia, 2 thin coats in the dead of winter. If you liked that joke, join our Patreon. Well, we don't have a Patreon. Definitely needing to revisit some pieces. This piece is going to be fun. If you're interested, the ratio I'm doing is 2:1 to water or contrast medium if you've got it, to 1 contrast paint. And this is another piece that I will be painting both the inside and outside and everywhere else because people still going to see much of this piece. Flying carapace. The reason I'm doing the carapace first is because it's always the biggest bit of the model, and at this early stage it doesn't really matter about overspill because you can go back and touch it up with the base color to get the color you're wanting, because all of these pieces will be going back and using a normal brush, but with precision, back with white, so that I can put more, or I can put on a different color without too much contamination. Now for the inside, the reason I've gone with this color is this high fleet is a splinter fleet of high fleet Leviathan. And Leviathan is purple, this sort of purple and white. So I'm wanting to have a bit of this high fleet showing its roots. And also I like purple because the way I'm painting, this paint is drying, so I'll be able to get a lot more done. Like the first bit on this bit of model that I've done is already drying. Even this bit is pretty much drying. I'm doing quite well with the amount of light I've got. There are people that live stream painting, May need a smaller brush to access that. Thank you for watching part 1 of the Leviathan box set, Build and Paint Elements. This is part of the series that I've called Ode to Macridge. We've still got a lot of biomass to get through, so keep tuned. Part 2 is coming real soon, unless I devour it first. You'll see. So, please make sure you're subscribed, ring that bell, and like or dislike. The algorithm sees no difference. And comment your allegiance, if it's to total and utter consumption, total and utter eradication of all living things, or if it's to the Chaos Gods, or the God Emperor, or the greater good. Bye for now. Later!